Shalom, my name is Yehoshua Yaakov ben Avraham. I'm making this video from Jerusalem. I wish you kosher Pesach, a blessing for Passover. The Passover begins this evening in Jerusalem. This morning with sunrise, Birkat Chama, the blessing of the sun, which is every 28 years plus one. This is the third in my life. If I get to make the blessing on the sun again, okay, I'll be 95 years old. That God should bless me to be so blessed as to bless the sun 4 times in my life. Okay, some announcements. I made a video, actually a slideshow, and translated it into a video to upload it on YouTube. And the slideshow is really, it basically says there's a solution to the world crisis. It's not a financial crisis. It's the end of man and mankind's exile, and explains this. And so some advice, very much you're asked to view it, to rate it, and to invite others to view it, to get it covered. But the bottom line, the story has to get out, the word has to get out. We are in a fundamental transformation of man and mankind. It's the end of man's exile. And so we announced this today on this auspicious day, which is both the Erev of Pesach, of Passover. The Passover has come for man and mankind. It was confirmed on September the 11th, 2001, but nobody quite understood the grammar, which really is the meta-narrative, and the meta-narrative is what it means. And the official narrative was it was an act of terrorism. Planes were hijacked, 2 buildings collapsed, etc., etc., etc. But that really only told us less than 1%. The meta-narrative tells us the meaning in history. So events in history are overtaking us. Barack Obama, the G20, they're behind the curve of both events in history. The world crisis of culture is the result of man's greed, avarice, and obsession with power for control over others and of other people. And that derived from man's model of mind of exile, which was giving to receive. Okay, so that's been ended. That collapsed. That's the local reality. And this is an analogy, a model I take derived from physics. If you don't have the local reality, you have the quantum reality. The quantum reality is redemption, and the local reality is exile. Man's exile ended, and God collapsed the local reality. And the meta-narrative, the grammar of confirming this was 9/11. Okay, so we're back to today. And today is the Passover. And on the Passover, we announce that there is a prayer called the Amidah, which is our traditional prayer. And if you're religious in Judaism, you recite it at Shacharit, Mincha, and Mari, which is morning, evening, and afternoon. Morning, afternoon, and evening. And so the Amidah has now a commentary on it, which is focused on the particular event that everybody is behind the curve on, and that's the end of man's exile and the beginning of redemption. So we're announcing it this day, which is, I repeat, at sunup, the blessing of Birkat Chama, and the morning, at dawn, we had about 50,000 people at the hotel to celebrate making this blessing and to thank God for the creation. But while we're blessing the sun, I would like to include the moon, because the moon was a sun. We had 2 suns to begin with. The little sun, which burned out first, it had a very, very important job, and that was to give life to the biosphere, to melt the 282-mile ice cap and to boil it for a few billion years to cook carbon-60, C60, which is the fundamental basic building block of life. Okay, so that's a very important little insight that Rashi, I think, was the only commentator that I'm aware of that understood it. A brilliant scientist, I might add, long before his time. Okay, so we bless the sun, but we also bless the moon. And we honor her for her tremendous service in giving life to our biosphere. And the 28-year cycle plus one is the blessing of the moon. This morning we burn the chametz, which is really the chametz is here. When we get the chametz out in our mind, we get it out of our house, out of our community, out of our nation, out of our world. Okay, so and chametz is really man's clinging to exile, and that's ended. So we have to deconstruct. The end of exile means deconstruction of ground zero. That's particular to every human being on the planet. And it begins with Klal Yisrael in general, and in particular it begins right here in Jerusalem and in Israel. And after deconstruction, we go to deprogramming. Okay, so the world events have changed. The answers are not going to come from Barack Obama or the G20 because they are absolutely behind the curve of events and history. They do not recognize or know that the events are very much greater. There's not a financial crisis. The end of man and man's exile and the collapse of communism and capitalism is convergent in history, and not by coincidence, because humanomics is the new convergence model, the humanities' new center of gravity. Humanomics is comprised of its central organized principle Kabel B'Shvil in Hebrew, which is receiving to give, which replaces giving to receive. I give, I get. That was exile. It's finished. And these are things that the leadership, the G20, and the politicians are absolutely behind the curve on. And when they catch up with that, then they will realize, humanomics, yes. East-West converge, yes. Very good idea. And receive, very good idea. Cognitive behavioral science, first principle, receive it to give. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, that's right. And then, we're going to have a new economic paradigm, the integration of labor. And then they're going to stop flapping their wings and making a lot of noise and talking about trillions of dollars of bailouts. And they're going to realize that it's very simple. We're in transition, that the collapse of the local reality globally, that in man's context, to remove the old model, which was division of labor, the old method of economy, it's all finished, and we're going to build a new. And to do that, we have to, and we're seeing and witnessing right now the beginning of a massive reallocation of trillions, tens of trillions of dollars from the old to the new. And it's normal, and we're going to have jobs and employment for everybody, and it's just going to take time. But they don't know where we are, and they don't know where we're going, because it's not close to God. These are politicians. They want to know how to solve the problem. So they're throwing good money after bad, and but we'll get them up the learning curve together. So here's what you're to do. First, receive the blessing for the Passover. And the Passover is for everyone. It's for you. It's for me. It's not just for Jews. It's inclusive. And all mankind is redeemed by the God of the cosmos, which happens to be the God of Israel. Muslims, Christians, everybody. Okay, that's begun that process. And we're the ones who are supposed to understand it and recognize. And receiving to give is the gate of Hashem, of God, and that's the central organizing principle of humanomics. So, okay, I've said everything. It's Passover in Jerusalem tonight. We celebrate with our Seder, and what you're hearing in this video is very much what the new Seder. I mean, we have the historic model of going out from Egypt, but we're going out really from Egypt today in our minds, which was the exile of the Egypt of our mind was giving to receive, I give, I get. That's finished. It's collapsed. And that's what's brought, that's the crisis of culture that's brought the end of men and mankind's exile. Now that we understand that, we don't have anything to be afraid of. We just have to grow, develop, learn, and ascend and inhabit the quantum reality, which is Kabel B'Shvil receive to give, which is the new cognitive behavioral science paradigm if you're secular. Okay, so that's fine too. It's post-modernity, no problem. And for the traditional, it's redemption. Post-modernity for the secular. So I've said enough. I'm Yehoshua Yaakov. I wish you blessings in Kabel B'Shvil again. That's receiving to give. And we have nothing to fear. And remember, please, and I emphasize this, look at the slideshows, because what we have to do and how we're to do it is in the slideshow. And a little suggestion, it's the slides on the slideshow, which is the video just before this, in YouTube, YYB1 is the channel. They go kind of fast, so manually prompt it with your clicker. Just point at the button to stop and start the slideshow, and you'll get to see everything. Thank you for listening. I'm Yehoshua Yaakov, and a kosher Passover to you, your family, your community, your nation, to all mankind. Thank you for listening.